That night, I understood that a crutch could become proof of something far worse than a fracture. My name is Eleanor Stevens. I am 65 years old, and what I am about to tell you changed my life forever. There are moments when a woman knows something has broken, and I am not talking about bones. I am talking about that invisible fissure that opens up between a mother and her son, so silent that at first it does not even hurt. It is just there. But that October afternoon, when my foot got tangled in the living room rug and I fell down the stairs, I never imagined that my misfortune would be the beginning of something much darker. I remember the sound, first the dull thud of my body hitting the steps, then the crunch, that horrible crunch in my left leg that took my breath away, and then the silence, a silence that lasted barely 3 seconds, but felt like an eternity. It was my daughter-in-law, Chloe, who got there first. I heard her running down from the second floor. Her heels clacked against the marble like hammers. "What happened?" she yelled from above. I could not answer. The pain was so intense I could barely breathe. I lay sprawled at the bottom of the staircase, my leg twisted at an unnatural angle. Hot tears burned my cheeks. Chloe stopped in front of me. She did not kneel down. She did not touch me. She just looked down at me with those dark eyes that had always seemed cold to me, but now they seemed something worse. "Eleanor," she said in a controlled voice, "are you all right?" I can't move my leg," I whispered between sobs. She sighed, a long, tired sigh, as if my pain were an inconvenience. "Robert is in an important meeting. We can't bother him now." My son, my only son, Robert, the man to whom I gave everything, the boy I woke up every morning with kisses on his forehead for 20 years, the young man I helped pay for college by selling my mother's jewelry, the man who one day came home with Chloe on his arm and said, "Mum, she is my future." And I smiled. Because a mother always smiles when her son is happy, even if something inside tells her that that future comes with shadows. "Please, call an ambulance," I managed to say. Chloe took out her phone, but she did not dial any number. She just took a picture of me. Yes, a photo. Lying there, twisted in pain, my face soaked with tears. "I need to document this," she said coldly. "Just in case." Just in case what? I did not understand. Not at that moment. 3 hours later, Robert finally arrived. By then I had managed to drag myself to the living room sofa, using my arms and biting my lips to keep from screaming. My leg hung uselessly, swollen, purple. My son walked into the house in his impeccable grey suit, his leather briefcase under his arm. He looked at me from the doorway. "What happened, Mum?" "I fell. I think I broke my leg." Chloe appeared behind him like a shadow. She crossed her arms. "She's been like this for 3 hours. I didn't want to call an ambulance until you got here." Robert frowned. Not at her. At me. 3 hours? Mum, why didn't you move? "I can't, son. It hurts too much." He put his briefcase on the floor and approached, but not with tenderness, with impatience. Let me see. Let me see." He touched my leg and I screamed, a sharp, involuntary cry that tore from my soul. Robert quickly withdrew his hand. "She is exaggerating," Chloe said from behind. "She always exaggerates." "I am not," I tried to say, but the pain would not let me finish. Robert looked me in the eyes, and for the first time in my life, I did not recognize my son in that look. "Mum, do you really need to go to the hospital? You know the family insurance is tight this month." I was speechless. He was asking me to endure a fracture. For money? Chloe sat on the arm of the sofa next to Robert and put her hand on his shoulder, a posture of ownership, of a queen in her territory. Eleanor, we all know you get a little dramatic sometimes. Maybe you just need to rest. I looked at my son. I waited for him to say something, to defend me, to carry me to the car and take me to the hospital, as any son would for his mother. But Robert just sighed. All right, we will go to the hospital. But first thing tomorrow morning, okay? It is too late tonight, and I am tired. They left me there, that night, alone on the sofa, with a broken leg, no medication, not even a pillow. I heard their footsteps going up the stairs. I heard their door close. I heard their muffled laughter from the second floor. And in the darkness of that living room, with the pain shooting through every nerve in my body, I understood something terrible. My son was no longer mine, and she had started taking him from me long before that fall. But what neither of them knew was that that house, that staircase, those high, elegant ceilings where they now slept peacefully, had eyes. I did not sleep that night, not because of the pain, although it was unbearable, but because my mind traveled backward, searching for the exact moment everything began to change. When did I stop being the mother my son hugged every morning to become this, a nuisance, an exaggerator? I closed my eyes and saw myself 20 years ago, in the kitchen of our old house, that modest little place in a nice suburban town in New Jersey, with its white-tiled walls and its permanent smell of cinnamon and coffee. Robert was 8 years old. He would come running home from school, throw his backpack on the sofa and shout, "Mom, I am hungry." I would drop whatever I was doing and prepare him mini grilled cheese sandwiches with soup. We would sit together at that chipped wooden table that I inherited from my grandmother. He would tell me everything, his friends, his teachers, his dreams. "Mum, when I grow up, I'm going to be an architect, and I am going to build you a huge house with a yard and a fountain. And am I going to live there with you?" I would ask him, stroking his hair. "Of course, you are always going to live with me," he would laugh. And I believed him, because children always tell the truth when they are little. It is later, when they grow up, when they start to forget the promises they made with a pure heart. My husband, Richard, died when Robert was 12 years old. A sudden heart attack while driving home from work. He never made it home. That night, Robert and I hugged each other on the living room floor, crying together until we were voiceless. And in the midst of that pain, I made him a promise. "Do not worry, my love. I will take care of you. Always." And I did. I sold the few pieces of jewelry I had. I worked double shifts as a secretary in an accounting firm. I gave up everything. Going out, vacations, the possibility of falling in love again. Everything I earned was for Robert, so he could study at a good school, so he would not lack for anything. When he finished college, I got a loan to help him open his own architectural studio. I co-signed, I mortgaged the little house in New Jersey. "Mum, I am going to pay you back everything, I swear," he told me the day he opened his office. And I believed him, because he was my son. 2 years later, the studio began to grow. Robert was earning well, very well. He would come home in an expensive suit, with a Swiss watch on his wrist. He no longer ate grilled cheese sandwiches with me. Now he had lunch in fancy restaurants in Manhattan with important clients. One day he arrived excited. "Mum, I found the perfect land. I am going to build the house I promised you when I was a kid. Remember?" I remember crying with happiness. My boy had not forgotten. The house took 2 years to finish. It was beautiful. 3 stories, a yard with a stone fountain, huge windows, a garage for 3 cars. Everything Robert had dreamed of. The day we moved in, he hugged me at the entrance. This is your house, Mom. You are going to live here peacefully for the rest of your life. And I felt blessed. But there is something I learned too late. Big houses fill up quickly with things that do not belong to you, and sometimes those things include people. Chloe appeared 6 months after the move. Robert met her at a business dinner. She worked in public relations for a real estate development company. She was beautiful, I admit. Tall, thin, with that kind of cold elegance that intimidates. She always dressed in black or white. She never smiled too much. The first time he brought her home, I prepared a turkey dinner with mashed potatoes and gravy. My specialty. The dish Robert had loved since he was a child. Chloe barely tasted a bite. "It is too heavy for me," she said, wiping her lips with the napkin. "I don't eat carbs after 6. Robert laughed nervously and changed the subject. But I saw something in his eyes. Shame. My son was ashamed of me, of my food, of my customs, of my simple way of being. From that day on, Chloe started coming over more often. And with each visit, something in my son changed. He became more distant, more impatient, more aloof. When Robert told me they were going to get married, I smiled. Because that is what mothers do. They smile even if something inside whispers, "Be careful." The wedding was elegant, too elegant. I wore a pastel blue dress that I bought on clearance. Chloe wore a Vera Wang that cost more than everything I earned in 1 year. During the reception, I sat alone at a back table. Robert was busy greeting guests. Chloe posed for photos with her family. People with long surnames, serious faces, champagne glasses always full. No one came over to talk to me. At one point, Chloe's mother walked nearby and looked me up and down. She did not say anything, but her look said it all. You do not belong here. And maybe she was right. After the wedding, Chloe moved into the house, our house, the one Robert built for me. At first everything seemed normal, but little by little things started to change. Chloe redecorated, threw away my things. My family photographs disappeared from the walls. My flower pots in the yard were replaced by minimalist designs. One day I looked for the portrait of Richard, my husband, that had always been in the living room. "Where is my dad's photo?" I asked Robert. Chloe thought it made the space look too dated. "We stored it in the basement." Stored in the basement? Like garbage. I did not say anything, because mothers learn to swallow their words so as not to inconvenience their children. But that night, I went down to the basement. I searched through dusty boxes until I found Richard's portrait. I cleaned it with my blouse and hugged it. "Forgive me," I whispered to the photograph. "Forgive me for not defending your memory." And there, in that cold, dark basement, surrounded by the things that once formed my life, I felt for the first time what it means to be alive, but invisible. No one saw me anymore, not even my own son. The following months were like walking on broken glass. Every step I took in my own house seemed to bother someone. Chloe had rules, many rules. I could not use the kitchen after 9 in the evening because the noise of the dishes woke her up. I could not play music in the living room because it interfered with her concentration. I could not water the plants in the yard in the mornings because the gardener came on Tuesdays, and that was his job, not mine. My space kept shrinking. First, I stopped using the living room, then the kitchen. In the end, I spent most of my time in my third-floor bedroom. A beautiful room, yes, with a balcony and a view of the yard. But a golden cage is still a cage. Robert worked more and more. He left before 7 in the morning and returned after 10 at night. On weekends, he had dinners with clients or business trips. When I tried to talk to him, he was always busy. "Mum, not now. I have an important call." Mum, I am tired. Can we talk tomorrow? Mum, Chloe is right. You can't be making noise at those hours. Chloe is right. Those 3 words became the refrain of my life. One April afternoon, 6 months after the wedding, I went down to the kitchen. I felt like making some coffee, like the one I used to prepare in our little New Jersey house. I wanted to smell the cinnamon, the melting brown sugar, that sweetness that reminded me of better times. I put the pot on the stove, added the water, the cinnamon sticks, the cloves, closed my eyes, and for a moment, just a moment, I felt at home again. What are you doing? I opened my eyes. Chloe was in the kitchen doorway, dressed in grey yoga pants and a sports top. Her hair was pulled back in a perfect high ponytail, not a single hair out of place. Coffee, I replied with a smile. Do you want some? It is delicious. She approached the stove and looked inside the pot with a frown. Eleanor, this kitchen has just been cleaned. Alice comes twice a week and it costs a lot of money. You can't be messing everything up every time you feel like something. It is just one pot. I will wash it. That is not the point. The point is, Idchas, that this house has an order, a system, and you are constantly interrupting it. I felt something hot rise in my chest. It was not the steam from the coffee. It was something else, something I had been holding in for months. This is my house too, I said quietly. Chloe tilted her head. A small, cold smile appeared on her lips. Your house? Eleanor, let's be honest. Robert built this house with his money, with his effort. You live here because he is generous, because he loves you. But that doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. Every word was a pinprick. Small, sharp, precise. I helped Robert. I sold my things so he could study. I mortgaged my house for his business. Yes, we know. You have told us that story 1,000 times. I gave everything for my son. I sacrificed my life. But tell me something, Eleanor. How long are you going to charge Robert for having been his mother? Isn't that what mothers do? Give without expecting anything in return? I was speechless, breathless. Chloe turned off the stove, took the pot with a rag and put it in the sink. Stop doing this. Stop living in the past. Stop clinging to your son as if he were your emotional hostage. He has a life now, a wife, and eventually we will have children. You need to understand what your place is in this family. She left the kitchen, leaving a dense, toxic silence. I stood there, watching the coffee pouring down the sink like dark tears. I did not have dinner that night. I locked myself in my room and cried until I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was at 3 o'clock in the morning. The house was in absolute silence. I went down to the first floor, careful not to make any noise. I did not want to bother. I did not want to interrupt the system. I walked barefoot through the living room, stroking the walls that I once imagined were mine. I reached Robert's study. The door was ajar. I walked in. Everything smelled of him. His expensive cologne, leather, the pipe tobacco he sometimes smoked when he was stressed, his diplomas, his awards, photographs with important clients, with famous architects hung on the walls. I searched through all those images. Would there be a single photograph of me, of the two of us, of our life before Chloe? Nothing, not a single one. I sat in his leather armchair and opened his desk drawer. I do not know what I was looking for. Maybe a sign, maybe something that would tell me that I still existed in my son's life. I found papers, contracts, invoices, and at the back, a yellow envelope. I opened it. Inside were legal documents. I recognized my name, Eleanor Stevens, and further down, in cold black letters, assignment of property rights. I read quickly, my heart pounding in my ears. It was the deed to the little New Jersey house, the house I had mortgaged to help Robert with his business. According to this document, I had voluntarily transferred all my rights to that property to Robert and Chloe, but I never signed this. I looked closer. There was my signature, or something that looked a lot like my signature, but I never, ever signed a paper like that. My hands were shaking. I put the envelope back in the drawer, exactly as I found it. I went up the stairs like a sleepwalker. When I got to my room, I sat on the bed and looked out the window at the dark yard. The stone fountain shone under the moonlight. Everything was beautiful. Everything was perfect. But nothing was mine. And at that moment, I understood something terrible. Chloe did not just want to take my son from me. She wanted to erase me completely. The next morning, I tried to talk to Robert. I waited for him in the breakfast nook. He came down at 7 o'clock, as always, in his navy blue suit and his briefcase. "Son, I need to talk to you. It is important." "Not now, Mum. I have a presentation with Japanese investors and I can't be late." "But it is about the New Jersey house." Chloe appeared behind him. She was wearing an ivory silk robe. She poured herself a glass of water with lemon and looked at me. "Eleanor, Robert is busy. If you need to talk about something, we can do it later, you and I." "No," I said firmly. "I need to talk to my son." Robert sighed. The same tired sigh I had heard the night of my fall. "What is it about?" "I found some papers about the New Jersey house. They say I transferred my rights." "Mum, we sorted that out 2 years ago. Don't you remember? We needed to consolidate the properties for tax purposes. You signed. We even went to the notary public together." "No, I don't remember signing anything like that." Chloe put her hand on Robert's shoulder. "Sweetheart, your mother is having a lot of memory lapses lately. The other day she didn't remember where she left her glasses. Yesterday she forgot she had already eaten breakfast and came down again. Maybe we should take her to a doctor." "I am not forgetting anything," I said in a trembling voice. "I know what I signed and what I did not." Robert looked at me with something new in his eyes, something I had never seen directed at me before. Pity. "Mum, you are 65 years old. It is normal for your memory to fail. It is nothing to be ashamed of, but you need to accept it." "I am not senile, Robert. That is enough." His voice boomed in the breakfast nook. "I am sick of this, sick of your drama, sick of your constant complaints." "Chloe is right. You live in the past, constantly reminding me of what you did for me, making me feel guilty for having a life of my own." "I never—" "Yes, Mum. Always. I sold my jewels. I worked double shifts. I sacrificed everything. You know what? I already paid you back. I gave you this house. You have a roof, food, everything you need. What more do you want?" Tears began to roll down my cheeks. "I just want you to listen to me. I don't have time for this." He grabbed his briefcase and walked out the door. Chloe looked at me for a moment before following him. In her eyes I saw something that chilled my blood. Victory. I was left alone in that enormous breakfast nook, surrounded by marble and stainless steel, with the morning sun streaming through the windows. And I felt more alone than ever in my life. Because you can be surrounded by luxury, by beauty, by everything material. But if the people you love look at you as if you are a nuisance, you are completely alone. That afternoon, I walked through the house in silence, touched the walls, looked at every corner, and understood something with chilling clarity. This was not my house. It never was. I was just a guest who had overstayed her welcome, and now someone was preparing my exit. After that discussion in the breakfast nook, something changed in me. Or perhaps it would be more honest to say that something broke. I decided that the best way to survive in that house was to become invisible. If my presence bothered them, then I would disappear. I would become a silent ghost who did not mess things up, did not make noise, did not interrupt the system. I started waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I went down to the kitchen before anyone else. I made my coffee in silence. I drank it quickly and washed everything until there was not a single drop of water left in the sink. I went up to my room before Robert or Chloe woke up. I no longer came down for breakfast. I kept plain crackers and tea in my room. That was enough. I made lunch at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when Chloe went to the gym and Robert was at the office. I quickly heated something up. I ate standing next to the refrigerator. I washed the plate 3 times to make sure no trace remained. I avoided dinners completely. I stayed in my room reading old magazines or watching the sun set over the yard I once thought would be mine. Sometimes, in those long golden sunsets, I wondered when I became this. When did I stop being Eleanor, the strong woman who raised her son alone, to become Eleanor, the annoying old woman who is a bother? But the answers hurt too much, and I was too tired to keep hurting. One May afternoon, 3 months after the argument, I was in my room folding laundry. It was a Thursday. Alice, the maid, came on Thursdays, but Chloe had instructed her not to go up to the 3rd floor. Mrs. Stevens prefers to clean her own space, she said. A lie. But I did not contradict her. I heard someone coming up the stairs, slow, heavy steps. It was Robert. He knocked on the door. "Mum, can I come in?" I quickly hid the crackers I had on the bed. "Yes, come in, son." He walked in with his hands in his pockets. He was wearing a wine-coloured sweater that I had given him 2 Christmases ago. Seeing him in that garment gave me a silly little hope. Maybe there was still something left of the Robert I knew. "How are you?" he asked, but without looking me in the eyes. "Fine, son. And you?" "Tired. Lots of work." He sat on the edge of my bed. I sat in the desk chair, keeping my distance. I had learned not to get too close, not to suffocate with my presence. "Mum, I need to talk to you." My heart sped up. Something in his tone told me this was not going to be good. "Sure, tell me." "Chloe and I have been thinking about the future, about us." I nodded in silence. "We want to have children, soon. And this house, although it is big, needs adjustments. The 3rd floor would be perfect for a playroom and a nursery. It has good light, ample space." I understood where this was going before he finished speaking. "So we thought maybe it would be good for you to have your own space, something more appropriate for you." "Appropriate?" I repeated the word as if it were foreign. "Yes, there are some very nice residences nearby for seniors. They have yards, activities, 24-hour nurses. You could make friends, have a social life. You are very lonely here, Mum, locked in your room all day." I felt the floor open up beneath my feet. "Are you asking me to leave?" "It is not that. We are just thinking about what is best for everyone. For you too. You are going to be 66 years old. You need to be with people your age, and we need our space as a couple, as a future family." "Robert, you built this house for me. You told me I would live here for the rest of my life. And you can visit us whenever you want. It is not like we are kicking you out. It is just a transition, something natural." "Natural?" The word came out as a strangled cry. "Is it natural for you to kick me out of my house to give my room to a baby that does not even exist yet?" Robert stood up. There was no softness left on his face. "See, Mum, this is why it is hard to talk to you. You turn everything into drama. You personalize everything. We are trying to plan our future and you only think about yourself. I only think about myself? I stood up too. Robert, I gave up everything for you. Everything. And now you tell me I am selfish for wanting a place in the life of my only son. Enough. Enough with charging me for everything you did. Do you think I don't know? Do you think I don't carry that guilt every day of my life? Mum sold her jewels. Mum worked 2 shifts. Mum mortgaged her house. I know. But I did not ask you to do it. You decided to sacrifice yourself. I was a child. His words were like knives, stabbing one after another. You are right, I said in a broken voice. You were a child who needed to eat, study, have a future. And I was your mother. It was my responsibility. But I thought that when you grew up, when you were successful, when you had everything I couldn't give you as a child, you would remember, not to pay me back, just to see me, not to forget that I existed. Robert closed his eyes. He took a deep breath. I am not forgetting you, Mum. I am just asking you to understand that my life has changed, that I have other priorities now. And I stopped being a priority. Silence. A silence so long and painful that it was clearer than any answer. Think about it, he finally said. We visited 3 residences last week. They are all very nice. I am going to send you the brochures. Take your time, but not too much time. Chloe wants to start the renovations in June. He left the room, closing the door softly, as if softness could erase the violence of his words. I stood there, motionless, looking at the closed door. Then I collapsed on the bed and cried. I cried in a way I had not cried since Richard died. I cried until I had no more tears, no voice, nothing left but an immense emptiness in my chest. I could not sleep that night. I spent it sitting by the window, watching the stars appear one by one in the dark sky. And I asked myself questions I never thought I would have to ask. At what point did it become so easy for my son to let me go? Was there a specific day when I stopped mattering to him? Or was it little by little, so slowly that neither of us noticed, until it was too late? The next morning, I found the brochures under my door. 3 senior living residences, all with names that sounded nice, but deep down meant the same thing. A place where old people who are a nuisance are kept. I opened the first one. Golden Villa, where the golden age comes to life. Photographs of old people, smiling in perfect gardens, playing cards, painting watercolors. They all looked happy. They all looked peaceful. They all looked alone. I closed the brochure and put it on the desk next to the other 2. For the next few days, I did not bring up the subject with Robert again. He did not mention it either, but the tension in the house was palpable. It hung in the air like humidity before a storm. Chloe, for her part, began coming up to the 3rd floor. She would arrive with her design notebook, her tape measure, taking measurements, making notes. Don't worry, Eleanor. I am just looking at options, she would say with that cold smile that never reached her eyes. One day I found her measuring my room while I was inside. What are you doing? Oh, excuse me, I thought you had gone downstairs. I was just checking that a crib and a changing table fit here. Yes, it fits perfectly. We can even put a bookshelf for the toys. She talked about my room, my space, as if I no longer existed, as if I had already left. Chloe, I still live here for now, I replied without looking at her, writing something in her notebook. That night, I went down to dinner. I don't know why. Maybe out of pride. Maybe because something in me refused to continue being invisible. Robert and Chloe were in the dining room, eating pasta with white wine. The table was set only for 2. Good evening, I said from the entrance. Both looked up, surprised. Mum, we didn't know you were going to have dinner, Robert said. I live here. I can still have dinner in my own house, can't I? Chloe wiped her mouth with the napkin. Of course. Let me set an extra plate. She got up and went to the kitchen. She returned with a plate, cutlery, and a glass. She put them down in front of me without saying a word. I sat down. I served pasta onto my plate. The silence was dense, uncomfortable. How was your day? I asked Robert. Good. Busy. Are you still on the tower project in Seattle? Yes. Monosyllables. My son answered me in monosyllables, as if I were an annoying stranger. Chloe drank her wine and looked directly at me. Eleanor, have you seen the brochures we left you? Yes. And? What did you think of them? I am not interested in any of them. Robert put his fork down on the plate with a sharp clatter. Mum, you can't keep postponing this. I am not postponing anything. I am simply not going to leave. It is not your decision, Chloe said with icy calm. Excuse me? This house is in Robert's name, and mine. You live here because we allow you to. But if we decide that it is no longer functional for our family, you have to accept it. I looked at my son, waiting for him to say something, to contradict her, to defend me. He did not say anything. Robert, is that true? Is that how you see me? As someone who lives here because you allow me to? He did not look me in the eyes. Mum, we just want what is best for everyone, and this situation is not working. You spend all your time locked up, sad, fighting with us. You would be better off in a residence. I say it for your own good. For my own good, I repeated slowly. Or for yours? Both, Chloe said. It doesn't have to be a conflict. It can be a friendly, peaceful, civilized transition. And what if I don't want to leave? Chloe and Robert looked at each other. Something passed between them in that look. Something they had already discussed before. Then we will have to take other measures, Chloe said. What measures? Legal ones. The word dropped like a stone into quiet water. Are you threatening me? It is not a threat. It is reality. This house is ours. And if you force us, we will find the legal way to make you leave. I stood up so fast that the chair fell backward. You are a snake. Eleanor? No, let me speak. You came into this house that I helped build. You inserted yourself into my family. You brainwashed my son, so he sees me as a nuisance. Chloe stood up too. There was no longer any trace of calm on her face. I didn't brainwash anyone. I just opened his eyes. I made him see that his mother was an emotional manipulator who uses the past as a weapon, who has him tied up with guilt, who doesn't let him grow. That is a lie. Is it really? Then tell me, Eleanor, how many times have you reminded Robert of everything you did for him? How many times have you used your sacrifices to make him feel guilty? How many times have you cried to get what you want? Stop it! Robert's voice boomed in the dining room. Both of you, stop it! But it was already too late. The words had been spoken. The truth, or what each person believed to be the truth, was on the table like a corpse. Robert looked at me with tired eyes. Mum, please, go to your room. Are you kicking me out of the table? I am asking you to go upstairs. Please. I looked at my son, this 38-year-old man, successful, well-dressed, with a beautiful house and an elegant wife, and I did not recognize him. This was not the boy who cried in my arms when he had nightmares. This was not the young man who hugged me, crying, the day his father died. This was not the man who promised to take care of me forever. This was a stranger, and strangers do not hurt so much when they reject you. I left the dining room without saying anything else. I went up the stairs slowly, clinging to the railing. My heart was beating too fast. My chest hurt. When I reached my room, I locked the door. I sat on the floor, against the door, and hugged my knees. And there, in that position of a frightened child, I understood something fundamental. No matter how much I clung, no matter how much I fought, I had already lost my son. Chloe had won. And I was just an obstacle they needed to remove so they could be happy. That night, the sky filled with dark clouds. It started to rain. A strong, furious rain that beat against my window like fists demanding to enter. I stayed awake all night, listening to the storm, and for the first time in my life, I wished to disappear. Just stop existing, so everyone could move on without the burden of having to deal with me. The days after that dinner were strange, silent, as if the whole house was holding its breath. Robert left early and returned late. Chloe spent hours in her second-floor study, talking on the phone, organizing things I did not understand. Sometimes I heard her laugh, a light, victorious laugh. I stayed in my room, ate crackers and tea. I read the same books over and over, without retaining anything they said. The words passed before my eyes like shadows without meaning. One early June afternoon, I decided to go down to the yard. I needed air. I needed to feel the sun on my face, even if only for a few minutes. The yard was beautiful. The roses I had planted 2 years ago bloomed in shades of red and white. The stone fountain sounded with that constant murmur that had always seemed comforting to me. I sat on the wrought iron bench under the willow tree. I closed my eyes. I breathed deeply. For a moment, just a moment, I felt peace. Eleanor. I opened my eyes. Chloe was in front of me, with her iPad in her hands. She was wearing a white linen dress and gold sandals. Perfect, as always. We need to talk. I have nothing to talk to you about. Well, I have a lot to talk to you about, and you better listen. She sat next to me without asking permission. Robert is very stressed. His blood pressure is high. His doctor prescribed him anxiety medication. Do you know why? I did not answer. Because of you. Because of this unsustainable situation. He loves you, Eleanor. That is why he can't force you to leave. But that love is making him sick. And I am not going to allow you to destroy my husband's health just because you are selfish. I am not selfish for wanting a place in my son's life. Yes, you are. Because that place you want no longer exists. Robert grew up. He has a wife. Soon he will have children. And you refuse to accept that your role in his life changed. You are no longer the center of his universe. You are no longer his priority. And that kills you, doesn't it? Every word was precise, calculated, designed to hurt. I know what you are doing, I said quietly. I know you are trying to push me away from him. Chloe smiled. A small, almost imperceptible smile. I don't have to do anything. You are pushing yourself away. Every time you cry, every time you complain, every time you remind him of what you sacrificed, you push him further away. And when he finally leaves, it won't be my fault. It will be yours. She stood up. You have until the end of June, 1 month, to choose a residence and move. If you don't do it voluntarily, we are going to initiate legal action. And believe me, Eleanor, you don't want us to go there. Legal action? On what grounds? On the grounds that you are an older person with memory problems who poses a risk to yourself and others. We already have documentation of your forgetfulness. We have already discussed the situation with a specialized family law attorney. It won't be difficult. I felt the world tilting beneath my feet. That is a lie. I don't have memory problems. Don't you? Then do you remember signing the assignment of rights for your house? Why did you swear 3 months ago that you didn't remember it? Because I never signed that. There it is. See, you lose your memory, you forget important things. That is worrying in someone your age. A judge would understand perfectly. She turned around and started walking toward the house. 1 month, Eleanor. Don't waste any more time. I watched her walk away, her white dress fluttering slightly in the breeze, like an angel. But angels do not destroy families. Angels do not lie. She was something else. I could not sleep that night. Chloe's words spun in my head like furious wasps. Memory problems, risk to herself and others, legal action. Could they really do that to me? Declare me incompetent? Take away my dignity, my autonomy, my right to decide about my own life? I got out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. I went down to the first floor, careful not to make any noise. I needed water. I needed to think. When I passed Robert's study, I saw light under the door. He was there at that hour. I approached. I heard voices. Robert was talking on the phone. I know it is wrong to listen to other people's conversations. I know. But at that moment, something told me I needed to know what was going on. I stood next to the door, holding my breath. No, she hasn't left yet. Yes, I know. We already told her she has until the end of the month. No, she won't sign voluntarily, I am sure. Then we will have to proceed with Plan B. Yes, the medical certificate will be enough. I don't like it, but it is the only way. She won't understand the nice way. My heart was pounding so loud I thought he would hear it. Chloe already spoke with Dr. Miller. He is willing to sign the document. It is not illegal if she really has cognitive problems. And well, at her age, who will doubt it? Yes, exactly. Once we have the declaration of partial incapacity, we can proceed with the eviction. No, it is not eviction. Technically, it is an assisted relocation. Look, I know it sounds ugly, but it is what is best for everyone. She can't stay here. Chloe is pregnant. We just confirmed it yesterday. We can't raise a baby with this tension. I covered my mouth to keep from screaming. Chloe was pregnant, and my son, my only son, was planning to have me declared incompetent to get me out of the house, with a doctor willing to lie, with false documents, with everything prepared. I went up the stairs as fast as I could. I entered my room. I locked the door. I sat on the bed, trembling. It was not paranoia. It was not exaggeration. It was not a lie. It was not a lie. I turned on the laptop I kept hidden in the closet, the old one I used for emails and bills. I logged into Robert's work email. I still knew the password. I went to his sent folder. I found what I was looking for. An email from Chloe sent the previous night. Subject: Final Plan. The process can take between 2 and 4 weeks. Once we have the declaration of partial incapacity, your mother will not be able to legally oppose the relocation. Golden Villa has a space available starting July 15th. I already reserved the spot with a $20,000 deposit. As soon as she leaves, we can start the third-floor renovation. The architect already has the blueprints ready. Everything is going to go perfectly. I love you. C. I read the email 3 times. Every word was a nail in my heart. Not only did they want to kick me out, they had everything calculated, with dates, with money, with professionals willing to lie. And the worst thing, they called it the final plan, as if I were a problem that needed to be solved, an obstacle that needed to be removed. Not a person, not a mother, a problem. I printed the email. I printed all the related emails. I left the study with the papers folded under my blouse, went up to my room just as I heard Chloe coming through the front door. Eleanor, are you home? I did not answer. Eleanor, I heard her heels going up the stairs. She reached the third floor. She knocked on my door. Eleanor, I know you are there. I hid the papers inside my Bible, the one thing Chloe would never touch. I opened the door. What do you want? She smiled, but there was something different in that smile, something I had not seen before. I wanted to be the first to tell you, I am going to be a mum. I am 6 weeks pregnant. She brought her hand to her belly with a theatrical gesture. Robert is happy. He always wanted to be a father, and I always wanted to give him that happiness. So imagine, Eleanor, soon this house will be filled with baby laughter, toys, new life. Isn't it beautiful? I stayed silent. Of course, for that, she continued, we need space, peace, a calm and positive environment. We can't have tensions. Do you understand me? I understand you perfectly. Good. Because I know that deep down you want what is best for Robert, and what is best for him now is for you to leave. That way he can concentrate on his new family, on his son, on his future. And what am I? His past. Chloe tilted her head thoughtfully. No, Eleanor, you are not his past. You are a paid debt. He already gave you everything he owed you: house, food, shelter. He fulfilled his part. Now it is time for you to fulfill yours. Let him go. A paid debt, I repeated slowly. That's right. And paid debts are not collected twice. She turned around and started walking down the stairs. Before disappearing, she turned back. Oh, by the way, Dr. Miller is going to come tomorrow to do an evaluation on you. Just routine, age things, nothing to worry about. And she left. I was left standing in the doorway of my room. Dr. Miller, the evaluation, the false certificate, everything was in motion. But now I knew it. I had the evidence. The printed emails hidden in my Bible. And for the first time in months, something woke up inside me. It was not hope, not yet. It was something more primitive, more visceral. It was survival instinct. If they were going to destroy me, they would not do it without a fight. Because it is one thing to surrender when there is no way out, and a very different thing to let yourself be stepped on when you can still get up. That night I took the papers out of the Bible and read them over and over, memorized dates, names, exact phrases. I did not know yet what I was going to do with that information, but I knew it was the only thing I had, my only weapon. And when you are cornered, when everything is taken from you, when you are erased even from the life of the only person you loved above all things, even the weakest person finds the strength to defend themselves, even if that defense hurts, even if that defense costs everything, even if that defense means accepting that the war has already begun, and that this time I was not willing to lose in silence. Dr. Miller arrived at 10 o'clock in the morning the next day. He was a man about 60 years old, with thick-rimmed glasses and a professional smile that did not reach his eyes. Chloe greeted him at the door as if he were an honored guest. Doctor, thank you for coming. I really appreciate you making time in your schedule. No problem, Mrs. Stevens. Robert is an old friend. Anything your family needs, with pleasure. I was sitting in the living room, waiting. I had decided not to resist, to let them think I did not know anything, to continue being the naive old woman they could manipulate. Eleanor, Chloe said in a sweet, false voice. Look who came. Dr. Miller. He is just going to ask you a few little questions, nothing invasive, just to make sure you are in good health. The doctor sat down in front of me, took a folder out of his briefcase. Mrs. Stevens, good morning. How are you feeling? Fine, doctor. I am glad. Well, we are going to do a basic cognitive evaluation. Just simple questions. Is that all right? I nodded. What day is today? Thursday, June 10th. Perfect. What year are we in? 2025. Excellent. What is the name of the President of the United States? I answered correctly. And the next 10 questions, too. Names, dates, simple math operations, all correct. I saw Dr. Miller frown. This was not going as he expected. Chloe, standing behind the sofa, crossed her arms. Her face no longer showed that feigned sweetness. Doctor, ask her about more specific things, about her recent memory. Of course. Mrs. Stevens, do you remember what you had for breakfast today? Tea with crackers, in my room. And yesterday? The same. Do you remember any important conversation you have had in the last few days? I looked Chloe directly in the eyes. Yes, my daughter-in-law informed me that she is pregnant and that they need my room for the baby. That is why they want me to move to a residence. Dr. Miller cleared his throat, uncomfortable. I see. And how do you feel about that? Do you want the truth, or what they expect me to say? There was a tense silence. The truth, of course. I feel betrayed, used, discarded. This house was built with my money too. I mortgaged my only property so my son could start his business. And now they are kicking me out because I am a nuisance. Chloe quickly intervened. Doctor, do you see what I mean? She has episodes of paranoia. She thinks we are kicking her out when we just want her well-being. She thinks we stole her house when she voluntarily assigned her rights years ago. I never assigned anything voluntarily, I said with a firm voice. Do you see? Chloe insisted. She does not remember signing. She does not remember going to the notary public. These are clear signs of cognitive decline. Dr. Miller wrote something in his folder. Then he looked at me with a serious expression. Mrs. Stevens, have you had trouble remembering where you leave things? Have you gotten lost in familiar places? Do you forget the names of close people? No. Have you had problems cooking or doing daily tasks that you used to do without a problem? No. In fact, I cook perfectly, but they won't let me use the kitchen because I make a mess and interrupt the house system. Eleanor, that is not true, Chloe said, with a theatrical tone of exhaustion. No one forbids you to cook. It is just that sometimes you forget to turn off the stove. It is dangerous. That is a lie, I replied calmly. I have never left the stove on. You did 2 months ago. I had to come up to tell you. You could have caused a fire. That never happened. Do you see, Doctor? She does not even remember recent incidents. It is clear that her memory is failing. I stayed looking at her. Chloe was lying blatantly in front of a doctor, inventing incidents that never happened. And the doctor? The doctor was writing everything down as if it were true. I felt anger rise in my throat like lava. Dr. Miller, I said slowly, controlling my voice. How much are they paying you for this? He looked up, surprised. Excuse me? I asked how much they are paying you to lie on a medical certificate. Chloe let out a nervous laugh. Eleanor, please. No one is lying. The doctor is just doing his job. His job is to diagnose real diseases, not invent them. Dr. Miller closed his folder. Ma'am, I understand this is difficult for you. No one wants to accept that they are losing their faculties, but denial is part of the process. Your family is worried. They just want to help you. My family wants my room for renovations, and you are willing to sign a false paper for that to happen. The atmosphere became tense, heavy. Chloe took a step forward. Doctor, I think that is enough for today. As you can see, she has episodes of aggression too. She accuses people of conspiring against her. It is part of the paranoia. The doctor stood up. I am going to recommend a deeper evaluation with a specialized neurologist to have a more precise diagnosis. And will that neurologist also be a family friend? I asked. Dr. Miller did not answer. He grabbed his briefcase and headed for the door. Chloe, I will call you later. We need to talk about the next steps. After he left, Chloe remained standing in the middle of the living room, looking at me with a mixture of frustration and contempt. What do you think you accomplished with that? Do you think you saved yourself? The only thing you did was prove exactly what we needed, that you are hostile, paranoid, and uncooperative. That can also be included in the report. Include it, and I will include the emails I printed from Robert's computer. Chloe's face turned pale, only for a second, but enough for me to know I had hit the mark. What are you talking about? You know perfectly well what I am talking about. The emails between you and Robert, between you and Dr. Miller, between you and the lawyer. The whole final plan to get me out of here. Chloe clenched her fists. You were spying. I was defending myself. Those emails are private. You have no right. Right? Are you talking to me about rights? You, who are planning to have me declared incompetent with false documents? Chloe took a deep breath. When she spoke again, her voice was cold as ice. Listen to me, Eleanor. You can have those emails. You can print them. You can show them to whoever you want. But no one is going to believe you. You are a 65-year-old woman, with no money, with no friends, with no close family. We are a successful couple, with resources, with contacts. Who do you think a judge will believe? The person with the proof. The proof can be explained. It can be contextualized. We will say you were spying, that you manipulated information, that your paranoia made you misinterpret private conversations. And your conduct today, confronting the doctor, accusing him of fraud, only strengthens our case. She was right, and the worst thing is that I knew it. But I was not going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken. Do what you have to do, Chloe. But I am not going to sign anything. I am not leaving voluntarily. And if you force me, I will fight. Well, prepare to lose, because this war is already won. She went up the stairs with firm steps. I heard her enter her room. I heard her voice talking on the phone, probably with Robert, probably reporting everything that had happened. I was left alone in the living room, and for the first time, I felt something bigger than sadness. I felt clarity. I had lived all those months thinking that if I made myself small, invisible, submissive, maybe they could love me again. Maybe they could see my worth. But now I understood. No matter how small I made myself, no matter how much I humiliated myself, to them I was no longer a person. I was a nuisance, an old piece of furniture that had to be taken out. And against that, no submission would suffice. I went up to my room. I took the printed emails out of the Bible. I read them again. Chloe was right about something. Legally, I was at a disadvantage. I did not have the money for a lawyer. I did not have family to support me. I had no way to prove that my signature had been forged on the assignment of rights. But I had something they did not expect. I had dignity. And even if they took the house, even if they kicked me out onto the street, even if they declared me incompetent, they were not going to take that from me. That night, Robert arrived home around 11 o'clock. I heard his voice downstairs, talking to Chloe. Low, urgent voices. Minutes later, he knocked on my door. "Mom, open up. We need to talk." I opened it. Robert walked in. He looked tired. Deep circles under his eyes, loosened tie, dishevelled hair. Why did you say those things to Dr. Miller? What things? The truth? You accused him of fraud, Mum. Do you have any idea what kind of trouble that can cause? Trouble for whom? For him, who was willing to falsify a diagnosis? Or for you, who contacted him to do it? Robert closed his eyes. Mum, no one is falsifying anything. We are worried about you. We really believe you need help. A lie. It is not a lie. Yes, it is. I read the emails, Robert. All of them. The final plan, the dates, the deposit paid at Golden Villa, the renovation blueprints. Everything was planned before that doctor even set foot in this house. Robert opened his eyes. He looked at me with something I could not decipher. Guilt? Anger? Shame? You checked my computer. Yes, that is an invasion of privacy. And planning to declare me incompetent with false documents is a crime. Do you want to talk about legalities, son? He ran his hands through his hair. Mum, this did not have to be this way. If you would simply agree to go to a residence, none of this would be necessary. But you refuse, you cling on, and you force us to take measures. Measures? Is that what you call them? Measures? Yes, because there is no other way to make you understand that you can no longer be here. Why? Tell me why you need me to leave with such urgency. Because Chloe is pregnant. Because we are going to be parents. Because we need our space. Because this house is small for 3 generations. This house has 3 floors, 11 rooms, 3 full bathrooms. It is not small. It is enormous. What is small's your heart. The verbal blow left him speechless for a moment. How dare you? How dare I? How dare you, Robert? I gave you everything, everything I had. I sold my mother's jewels. I worked until I was sick. I mortgaged my house. And for what? So 30 years later you would kick me out with lies and false documents? Enough with reminding me of what you did. Enough with making me feel guilty. I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask you to sacrifice yourself. You decided to, and now you want to charge me for it for the rest of my life. His words went through me like bullets. I never charged you for anything. I just wanted you to love me, to see me, not to forget me. I didn't forget you. But I also can't live carrying your emotional weight. I have a wife. I am going to have a son. I need to focus on my own family. And you have to learn to live your own life without me. Without you, I repeated slowly. My whole life has been with you, for you, and now you ask me to learn to live without you? Yes, a single word. But it was enough to break something that was already cracked for months. Then I have nothing left to do here, I said in a broken voice. Mum, no. You already said what you had to say. I already know how you feel. I already understood that I am a burden, an emotional weight, a nuisance to your new, perfect family. I didn't mean to say it like that. But you said it. And words can't be unsaid, Robert. They stay. They get engraved. They rot inside you. I turned around, turning my back to him. Go, please. Mum, go. Robert stood there for a few more seconds. Then he left, closing the door softly. I let myself fall onto the bed, and for the first time in a long time, I did not cry. Because tears are for when there is still hope. And I had none left. The days after that conversation with Robert were like living in an embalmed house. Everything was still, cold, dead. He no longer came up to my room. He no longer asked how I was. He did not even look at me when we crossed paths in the hallways. Chloe, for her part, moved through the house with a victorious tranquility. She constantly touched her belly, as if reminding me that she had something I could never give Robert: a future. I spent hours in my room, looking out the window. I had almost completely stopped eating. Only tea and some crackers when my stomach hurt too much. It was not that I wanted to let myself die. It was that food no longer had any taste. Nothing did. On June 15th, a week after Dr. Miller's visit, a certified letter arrived. Alice, the employee, brought it up to my room with a worried expression. "Mrs. Stevens, this arrived for you." I took the envelope. It was from the law firm Montes and Associates. I opened it with trembling hands. It was a legal notification. In complicated and formal language, they informed me that a process of legal capacity evaluation had been initiated at the request of my son, Robert Stevens, who alleged concern for my mental and physical well-being. I was summoned to a hearing on June 30th. I was advised to seek legal representation. I read the document 3 times. It was real. It was happening. My son was suing me to have me declared incompetent. I went down the stairs with the paper in my hand. Chloe was in the living room, looking at something on her iPad. Robert had not yet arrived from work. "What is this?" I showed her the document. She looked at it without flinching. "It is what we told you would happen if you did not cooperate. This is inhuman." "No, this is necessary. You forced us to go this far." "I did not force you to anything. You decided to destroy me." Chloe put the iPad on the table. She looked me directly in the eyes. "Eleanor, this is going to happen, whether you want it or not. You can make the process difficult, costly, and painful for everyone. Or you can accept it with dignity, retire peacefully, sign the papers accepting that you need assistance, choose the residence yourself, and maintain some relationship with Robert and your future grandson." "Future grandson? Do you think you are going to let me see him?" "It depends on you. If you cooperate, if you show that you can be a stable grandmother, without drama, without complaints, of course you can see him. But if you continue with this attitude, if you turn this into a war, then no. Then we will protect our son from your toxic influence." "Toxic influence," I repeated bitterly. "That is what I am now, toxic. You are what you chose to be, a victim, a martyr, a suffering woman, but that no longer works in this family." Something inside me broke at that moment, not with a sound, but in silence, like a dry branch that finally gives way under too much weight. "All right," I said. Chloe raised an eyebrow, surprised. "All right, what?" "I will sign whatever is necessary. I will leave." For the first time since I met her, I saw something close to satisfaction on her face. "That is the right decision. But with one condition." The satisfaction faded. "You are not in a position to set conditions. I want to talk to Robert, one last time. Alone. Without you. Without lawyers. Just my son and me." Chloe looked thoughtful. Then she nodded. "All right. But it will be here, in the living room, and I will be on the 2nd floor. If I hear you pressuring or manipulating him, I will come down immediately." Agreed. That night, when Robert arrived, Chloe told him I wanted to talk to him. I saw him hesitate. I saw the tiredness in his eyes, but he finally accepted. He sat on the single armchair. I sat on the sofa, keeping my distance, like 2 strangers in a waiting room. "What did you want to tell me?" he asked in a flat voice. "I wanted to ask you something, and I need you to answer me honestly. Can you do that?" He nodded. "At what point did you stop loving me?" Robert closed his eyes. "Mum, No, please. Just answer me. I need to know because I still remember the boy who hugged me every night before sleeping. The young man who cried on my shoulder when his father died. The man who promised me he would always take care of me. What happened to that Robert? He grew up. Growing up does not mean forgetting where you come from. I did not forget, but I also can't live in the past. You do. You live anchored to what was, to what you gave, to what you sacrificed. But I need to live forward, and you hold me back. I hold you back. How? With guilt, with expectation, with need. Every time you look at me, I feel like you are asking me, was everything I did for you worth it? And I don't know what to answer because yes, it was worth it. But it was also your decision. I did not ask you to give up your life. You chose to. I chose it because you were my son, because I loved you. And I love you too. But your love suffocates, Mum. Your love demands, your love charges. It is not a gift, it is a debt. Every word was like acid on an open wound. I never wanted you to feel that, but it is what I feel. And Chloe helped me to see it. She helped me understand that I don't have to carry that guilt, that I have the right to live my own life without asking you for permission, without justifying myself, without feeling bad for being happy. And to be happy, you needed to take me out of your life. I needed space, boundaries, my own family. And yes, that means you can no longer be my priority. I am sorry if that hurts you, but it is the truth. I remained silent, processing, trying to understand how a mother's love, the purest love I knew, had become something ugly in my son's eyes. Do you know what the saddest thing is? I finally said. That you are right. In part, yes, I loved you with need, because after your father died, you were the only thing I had left, my only purpose, my only reason to get up every morning. And yes, I made you responsible for my happiness, and that was not right. Robert looked at me, surprised to hear me admit it. But son, you also have your part of the blame in this, because you let me believe that we would always be together. You made me promises when you were a child, and I, like a fool, took them as guarantees. I leaned on you when I should have learned to support myself alone. And now I realize that I built my whole life on sand. Mom, I'm not finished. I am going to sign the papers. I am going to leave. I am going to choose a residence, and I am going to leave you alone. But not because I think it is the right thing to do, but because I no longer have the strength to fight. Because I already understood, Orbud, that you can't force someone to love you, not even if that someone is your son. Robert put his hands on his face. I do love you. Not in the way I need, and that is okay. Everyone loves as best they can. But Robert, someday you will hold that baby in your arms, and you will love him with all your being, and you will give him everything: time, money, attention, sacrifice, and you will think it is your responsibility, that it is your duty, but you will also do it out of love. Robert looked up. There were tears in his eyes. And when that child grows up, I continued, when he is 30, 40 years old, when he forms his own family, you will wait, even if you do not admit it, for him to remember you, to value what you gave, to include you in his life. And if one day that son looks at you and tells you, Dad, I grew up, I need my space, you are no longer my priority, you will understand this pain. And at that moment, perhaps you will think of me. Mum, I would never. Yes, you will, because that is life. What you do today will be done to you tomorrow. And when that day comes, I hope your son is more compassionate with you than you were with me. I stood up. Tomorrow I will sign the papers. Tell your lawyer to prepare everything. I am going to choose Golden Villa. It seems the least depressing place of the three. Mum, wait. No, there is nothing more to say. This conversation is over. And in a way, our relationship is too. I walked toward the stairs. Robert got up from the armchair. Does that mean you won't want to see your grandson? I stopped on the first step. I did not turn around. I will love him. Of course I will love him. But I am not going to repeat the same mistakes with you. I am not going to love with need. I am not going to build my life around a child who will one day grow up and forget me. I will love him with freedom, without expectations, without demands, without debts. That sounds very cold. No, it sounds wise. It is what I should have done with you from the beginning. I went up the stairs slowly. With each step, I felt like I was leaving behind something heavy, something I had carried for 38 years. When I reached my room, I closed the door and sat on the bed. I did not cry, because crying is for unexpected losses. And this I saw coming for months. I just refused to accept it until now. The next day, Mr. Montes, the attorney, arrived with the documents. I read them, all of them, every clause, every fine print. I signed. Eleanor Stevens voluntarily agrees to enter the assisted living residence Golden Villa. Eleanor Stevens acknowledges that she needs support for activities of daily living. Eleanor Stevens waives any legal claim to the property located in... I signed. And I signed. And I signed. My name over dotted lines. My dignity turned into blue ink. When I finished, the attorney put the papers in his briefcase. I regret that it came to this, ma'am. You don't regret it. You are going to be paid very well for this. The man had the decency not to respond. Chloe was present during the entire signing. When the attorney left, she looked at me with something that almost seemed like respect. You made the right decision. No, I made the only possible decision, which is different. Be that as it may, the move will be on Saturday the 28th. You can take what fits in your room at Golden Villa. The rest will be donated. Donate? My things? You won't need them anymore. And here they are, just taking up space. Photographs, books, the clothes Richard gave me, the letters my mother wrote to me, the drawings Robert made as a child, everything. And you are going to throw it all away? I want to keep some things. In boxes. In the basement. The basement is going to be renovated too. It is going to be a playroom. Then in the garage. Chloe sighed. 2 boxes. Only 2. The rest is going. 2 boxes to contain 65 years of life. Agreed. I spent the next few days packing, choosing which memories deserved to survive. Richard's photographs, Robert's baby pictures, my Bible, some books, the blanket my grandmother knitted, my mother's rosary. Everything else was left in black trash bags, piled up next to my bedroom door. Saturday, June 28th, arrived faster than I expected. 2 men from a moving company came up for my things, 1 suitcase, 2 boxes. That was all that was left of me. I went down the stairs for the last time. Robert was at the door of his study. He looked at me. I looked at him. We did not say anything, because there were no words left. Chloe was in the kitchen, drinking green juice. She did not say goodbye. I walked out the front door, the same door I walked through 2 years ago, full of hope, thinking I finally had a home. The moving truck was waiting. I got in. The driver started the engine. I looked in the side mirror. I saw the house move away, the stone fountain, the willow tree, the windows shining under the afternoon sun. And the last thing I saw was Robert, standing in the doorframe, with his hands in his pockets, motionless, watching his mother disappear from his life, as if I had never been there. Golden Villa was exactly what the brochures promised. Clean, tidy, with well-kept gardens and kind staff who smiled too much. But no amount of flowers or brightly painted walls could hide what it really was, a place where people went to wait for death. My room was small, a single bed, a closet, a desk, a chair, a window that faced the parking lot. None of the balcony with a view of the yard I had before, none of the high ceilings, none of the space. But it was mine. In a twisted way, it was mine. The first week I did not leave my room except for the mandatory meals. I sat alone at a dining room table, ate without tasting anything, and went back to lock myself in. The other residents tried to talk to me. Mrs. Lopez, a woman of 72 with diabetes and arthritis. Mr. Peterson, an 80-year-old widower with Parkinson's. Mrs. Rodriguez, who had Alzheimer's, and every day thought she was in a different time of her life. All kind, all alone, all abandoned by families who no longer knew what to do with them. One afternoon, Mrs. Lopez sat across from me during lunch. "You are new, right?" "Yes." "How long have you been here?" "A week?" "Ah, you are still in shock then." I looked up, surprised by her frankness. "Shock?" "Yes, we all go through it. The first few days you think it is temporary, that your family will come to their senses, that they will come for you. But later you accept that this is permanent." "How long have you been here?" 3 years. "And does your family visit you?" Mrs. Lopez smiled sadly. "My son came twice the first month, then once every 3 months. Last year he came on Christmas. He has not come yet this year. He says he is very busy." "I am sorry." "Don't be sorry, that is how things are. Children grow up. They make their own lives. And you are left behind, like old furniture." Her words resonated with me because they were exactly what I had lived. "And how do you bear it?" At first I could not bear it. I cried every night. I refused to eat. I wanted to die. But later I understood something important. What? That they are not going to change. That you can spend the rest of your life waiting for love that is not going to come. Or you can let go, and find peace elsewhere. And did you succeed? Find peace? Mrs. Lopez looked at me with wise, tired eyes. "Some days, yes. Some days, no. But it does not hurt like it used to. And that is already something." That conversation kept turning over in my head for days. Was that what awaited me? Years of waiting for visits that would not come. Years of pretending that the abandonment did not hurt. One night, 2 weeks after my arrival, I could not sleep. I got up and walked through the hallways of the residence. Everything was silent. I could only hear the snoring of some residents, the hum of the air conditioning, my steps against the linoleum. I reached the small chapel that was on the first floor. I went in. The wooden pews were empty. A crucifix hung on the wall. 2 lit candles barely illuminated the space. I sat in the first pew, and for the first time in weeks, I did not think about my pain. I thought about my life, about the entire path traveled. What had I done with my 65 years? I worked, I raised my son, I sacrificed, I nullified myself, I lived for someone else. And when that other person decided that they no longer needed me, I was left empty, without my own identity, without my own dreams, without my own life. Everything I was, everything I had built, was tied to Robert. And when that bond was cut, I stopped existing. But there, in that small and silent chapel, I understood something. I was still alive. I was still breathing. I was still thinking. I was still feeling. And as long as there was life, there was possibility for change. Not to get Robert back, that was already lost, but to get myself back. The Eleanor who existed before being a mother, before being a widow, before being a nuisance. Who was that Eleanor? I tried to remember. I went back in my memory, before marriage, before Richard, when I was 20 years old and studying to be a secretary. I dreamed of travelling, seeing the ocean, learning French, reading all the books in the public library. Small, simple dreams, but mine. What happened to those dreams? I buried them. Under responsibilities, under sacrifices, under the idea that a good mother does not think about herself. But now I was no longer anyone's mother, at least not in the practical sense. Now I was just Eleanor, and maybe, just maybe, that was enough. I left the chapel with something strange in my chest. It was not happiness, not yet, but it was something akin to clarity. The next day, I did something I had not done in years. I went to the residence library. It was small, with donated and old books, but I found a novel by a famous American author that I had never read. I took it. I sat in an armchair by the window and read, page after page, losing myself in a story that was not mine, in characters who suffered, loved, lost, got up again, and for the first time in months, I forgot my pain. The days began to take shape, routine. Breakfast at 8 o'clock, reading until 11 o'clock, lunch at 1 o'clock, a walk in the garden at 4 o'clock, dinner at 7 o'clock, more reading before sleeping. Mrs. Lopez became my frequent companion. We talked about books, recipes, soap operas. Never about our families. That was forbidden territory. Minefield. Mr. Peterson taught me how to play chess. I was terrible, but he was patient. Chess, he told me one afternoon, is like life. Sometimes you lose important pieces, but the game is not over until it is over. As long as your king is still standing, there is hope. Simple words, but profound. A month passed, then 2. Robert did not call, did not visit, did not write. At first it hurt. Every day I waited. Every time the reception phone rang, I thought, it is him, but it never was. And little by little, I stopped waiting. Chloe must have had the baby by September. Boy or girl, I did not know, because no one told me. I had a grandchild in the world, and I did not even know their name. That should have destroyed me. But instead, something strange happened. It freed me. Because as long as I had hope that they would include me, I lived tied up, waiting, suffering, emotionally dependent on crumbs of attention. But when that hope died completely, when I accepted that I was never going to receive what I expected, I was free. Free of expectations, free of need, free of that suffocating love that Robert mentioned. In October, 3 months after my arrival at Golden Villa, something happened that would change everything. I was in my room, reading, when I heard agitated voices in the hallway. I need to see my mother. I demand to see her. I recognized that voice immediately. Robert. I froze. The book fell from my hands. Sir, please calm down. I am going to check if Mrs. Stevens wants to receive visitors. She is my mother. She does not need to authorize anything. Quick footsteps. They knocked on my door. It was Rosa, one of the nurses. Mrs. Stevens, your son is here. He says he needs to speak with you. Do you want me to let him in? My heart was pounding. Part of me wanted to run and hug him. The old part. The part that was still the needy mother. But there was another part. The new one. The one who had learned to let go. Tell him to come in. Rosa nodded and left. Seconds later, Robert walked in. He looked terrible. Deep circles under his eyes, several days' unshaven beard, wrinkled suit. Nothing like the impeccable man I knew. Mum. I remained seated in my chair by the window. I did not get up. I did not run to hug him. Robert. Mum, I need to talk to you. It is urgent. Talk. He ran his hands through his hair. He was nervous, desperate. Everything got out of control. What thing? Chloe, the baby, the house, everything. I stayed silent, waiting. She lost the baby at 12 weeks. It was devastating. I felt a pang of pain, not for Chloe, for that life that did not come to be. I am so sorry. After the miscarriage, everything changed. Chloe became different, obsessive, paranoid. She says it was my fault, that the stress of everything that happened with you caused the loss. And what do you think? I don't know. The doctors said it was natural, but she doesn't accept it. She blames me. She blames you. She blames everyone. Robert, why are you here? Because I need your help. The answer took my breath away. My help? After everything that happened. I know I have no right. I know I was terrible to you. But Mum, I am lost. I don't know what to do. Chloe wants a divorce. She says she no longer loves me, that she was only with me for money and status. And now she wants half of everything. The house, the business, everything. I should have felt satisfaction, poetic justice. I told you so. But I did not feel any of that. I only felt sadness. And what do you expect me to do? I don't know. Guide me. Tell me what to do. You always knew what to do. No, Robert. I did not always know what to do. I just did the best I could with what I had. I made mistakes, many. And one of those mistakes was making you believe that I had all the answers. Mum, please. No, listen to me. You made decisions. You chose Chloe. You chose to take me out of your life. You chose to build a future that did not include me, and those decisions have consequences, good ones and bad ones. Now it is your turn to live with them. So you are not going to help me? I did not say that, but I am not going to solve it for you either. I am no longer your savior. I am no longer your safety net. You are an adult man, with resources, with an education. You will find a way to get ahead, like I did when I was widowed with a small child. Robert collapsed onto my bed. He put his face in his hands. I ruined everything. Yes, you did. How do I live with that? Like everyone else, one day at a time, accepting, learning, growing. He looked up. His eyes were red. I miss you, Mum. Those 3 words, the ones I waited to hear for months. But now, at this moment, they did not provoke what I expected. I did not feel relief. I did not feel victory. I did not feel that I had finally won. I only felt calm. I miss you too, son, but not the Robert you were to me in those last few months. I miss the boy you were, the young man you were. Before success, money, and Chloe changed who you were. Can I get that back? Can I be that person again? I don't know. That is a question only you can answer. We remained in silence for several minutes. Finally, Robert stood up. "Can I come to visit you? From time to time?" I thought about it. I really thought about it. The old Eleanor would have said yes immediately. She would have taken any opportunity to be near her son. But the new Eleanor, the one who was learning to live without need, knew she had to set boundaries. "You can, but with one condition." "Which one?" "That you don't come to dump your problems. That you don't come looking for me to solve your life. If you come, let it be because you really want to see me. Me, your mother, not your counselor, not your savior, just me." Robert nodded slowly. "I understand. And one more thing. Don't tell me about Chloe. Don't include me in her drama. I paid a very high price for your marriage. I am not going to keep paying." "Agreed." He approached. For a moment I thought he was going to hug me, but he just placed his hand on my shoulder. "Thank you, Mum." "Don't thank me. Just learn. From all of this. From what you lost. From what you did. So that when you have another child, if you have one, you don't repeat the same mistakes." "I will try." He turned around and walked toward the door. Before leaving, he turned back. "You know, you're right. I am going to have to learn to live with the consequences. And one of those consequences is living knowing that I hurt the person who loved me the most in this world. Not the one who loved you the most, the one who sacrificed the most for you, which is different. True love does not demand sacrifice. It just gives, freely." Robert left, and I was left alone in my small room at Golden Villa. But this time, the loneliness did not hurt, because it was a chosen loneliness, a loneliness with dignity. That night, before sleeping, I took out my Bible, the same one where I had hidden the printed emails months ago. The emails were still there. The evidence of the conspiracy, the proof of how they had manipulated me. I looked at them for a long time, and then calmly I ripped them up, one by one, into small pieces. Why? Because I no longer needed them. Because keeping evidence of past betrayals only keeps you tied to the pain. Because forgiving is not forgetting. It is releasing the right to charge them. And I no longer wanted to charge anyone for anything. I wanted to live the rest of my life in peace. I threw the pieces of paper in the trash can, and with them I also threw away the rage, the resentment, the need for justice. What Robert and Chloe did to me was unfair, cruel, unforgivable, according to many. But I chose to forgive anyway. Not for them, for me. Because carrying hatred is like drinking poison, hoping the other person will die. And I had already spent too much time poisoning myself. It was time to heal. And healing began with letting go. With understanding that true justice does not always come from courts or lawyers. It comes from life itself. And life, sooner or later, always collects its debts. The months continued their course at Golden Villa. October turned into November. November into December. Robert kept his word. He came to visit me every 2 weeks. At first, the conversations were tense, cautious, like two people walking on thin ice. But little by little, something began to change. We no longer talked only about him. We talked about the books I was reading, about the chess games I played with Mr. Peterson, about the knitting classes I had started taking with Mrs. Lopez. I was also changing. My hair, which I always wore pulled back in a tight bun, now I left loose. I had bought new glasses with my pension savings. Modern glasses with wine-coloured frames. One December afternoon, Robert arrived with a box. "I brought you something." It was a scarf, mustard yellow, hand-knitted. "I saw it at an artisan market and I thought of you." It was not a big deal, but it was a gift. The first in years he gave me that was not Christmas or my birthday. Thank you, son. We sat in the small garden of the residence. It was cold. I put on the scarf. It fit perfectly. How are things going? I asked him. Complicated. The divorce is difficult. Is she still asking for half of everything? Yes. Her lawyer is aggressive. They are arguing that she contributed emotionally to the success of the business, that she deserves compensation. And is that true? Robert looked thoughtful. I don't know. At the beginning of our marriage, yes, she supported me. She gave me ideas. She came with me to dinners with clients. But later everything became about her needs, her whims, her image. When did it change? I think when we moved to the big house. When she started living that lifestyle she always wanted. She was no longer my partner. She was the owner of the mansion, the wife of the successful architect. And you allowed her to become that? Robert looked at me surprised. What do you mean? That in a relationship, both have responsibility. She became what she became because you allowed it. Because it was convenient for you to have a beautiful, elegant wife who looked good at events. Just as I allowed you to turn me into the suffering mother, the martyr. Both of us were accomplices in our own destruction. Robert did not answer, but I saw in his eyes that my words had landed. Mum, how did you learn all this? How did you reach this peace? It was not overnight. It was pain. It was loneliness. It was forcing myself to look in the mirror and accept my part of the blame. It was reading, thinking, talking to people who have also lost. It was understanding that forgiveness is not a feeling. It is a decision you make every day. Did you forgive me? The question floated between us like smoke. I am in the process. Some days, yes, others it still hurts. But I don't hate you anymore. And that, son, is already a lot. Robert nodded slowly. I saw tears in his eyes. I don't know if I can forgive myself. Then work on it, because guilt that is not processed turns into resentment, against yourself or against others. And you already saw where resentment leads. We remained in silence, watching the December sun set over the trees in the yard. Mum, there is something I need to tell you. Tell me. Chloe is in trouble. Something in his tone alerted me. What kind of trouble? Financial, legal. It turns out that during our marriage she took out loans in my name, forged my signature, used the properties as collateral without my knowledge. I was stunned. How much money? More than $3 million. My God. And what did she spend it on? Luxuries, clothes, trips, cosmetic treatments. She had a spending addiction that I didn't know about. She hid bank statements. She opened credit cards in my name. When her family lost money in bad investments, she lent them money from our account without telling me. And how did you find out? Her lawyer, during the divorce process, presented financial documentation, and everything came out there. Accounts I did not authorize, debts I did not know existed. When I confronted Chloe, she admitted it. And not only that, she justified it. She said she deserved that lifestyle, that I owed her that for everything she had endured in our marriage. Endured? Enduring you? A bitter laugh escaped my throat. So I am expensive. Very expensive. $3 million. Robert did not laugh. He was too devastated. My accountant told me I can sue her for fraud, that I have all the evidence, that she could go to jail. But I don't know if I want to go that far. Why not? Because I don't know. A part of me still feels something for her. Or maybe I just feel pity or guilt for not having realized it sooner. Robert, listen to me carefully. What Chloe did is a crime. It is not a mistake. It is not a misunderstanding. It is fraud. And if there are no consequences, she will continue doing it. If not with you, with someone else. I know. But reporting her means everything will come to light. The media, clients, my reputation. Your reputation is already compromised. The question is, do you prefer to lose money and dignity by keeping silent? Or do you prefer to do the right thing, even if it hurts? Robert covered his face with his hands. I don't know what to do. Then don't do anything yet. Think about it. Consult with your lawyers. But son, remember something. Protecting the person who hurt you does not make you noble. It makes you an accomplice. 2 weeks later, Robert arrived with news. I sued her for fraud, falsification of documents, misuse of resources. And how do you feel? Terrible, but also relieved. Like I finally did something right after so much time doing everything wrong. How did she react? Furious. She called me. She yelled at me. She told me I was a monster. That how could I do that to her after everything we had been through together? And what did you answer? Nothing. I hung up. Because I realized something, Mum. That Chloe does the same thing I did to you. What thing? Manipulate with guilt. Remind me of everything she gave in the marriage. Make me feel like I owe her something. And for years it worked. But now I see the pattern, and I am not going to fall for it again. I felt proud. For the first time in a long time, I felt proud of my son. Well done. The following months were a legal whirlwind. Chloe's case progressed slowly. Her family hired expensive lawyers. They argued that Robert was pursuing her out of spite, that she was the victim. But the evidence was overwhelming. Forged signatures, unauthorized withdrawals, fraudulent loans. In February, the preliminary sentence arrived. Chloe was found guilty of fraud and falsification. She faced 5 years in prison, reducible to 3 with good behavior. Robert came to tell me that same day. How do you feel? I asked him. Confused. Part of me feels like justice was served. Another part feels guilty, like I destroyed her life. You did not destroy her life. She made decisions, bad decisions, and now she faces the consequences. That is not revenge. It is justice. I know, but it hurts anyway. Of course it hurts, because even if someone hurts you, that does not mean you stop being human. The pain is part of the process. Feel it. Don't avoid it. In March, more news arrived. The house. The house Robert built for me. The house they took from me. It turned out that Chloe had mortgaged it 3 times, without Robert's knowledge, using falsified documents. The banks were demanding immediate payment. Robert did not have that amount of cash. His business was doing well, but not that well. The only option was to sell the house. When he told me, I expected to feel satisfaction, poetic justice. The house they took from me is now being taken from them. But I did not feel that. I felt sadness, because that house represented a dream that rotted, that was contaminated, but that was once beautiful. I am sorry, son. Me too. I built that house thinking it would be our home forever. Yours, mine, my family's. But it was only the stage for our destruction. Houses are just walls. Home is built in the heart. Do you still feel like you have a home? I looked around my small room at Golden Villa. The bare walls, the simple furniture, the window that faced the parking lot. Yes, Here, in this small room, because here I found peace. And peace, son, is the only home that truly matters. The house was sold in April, at a much lower price than it was worth, because the sale was urgent. Robert managed to pay the debts. He was left with some money, but not much. He had to move to a small apartment in a less luxurious area. His business survived, but he had to reduce staff, close the big office, work from home. One day he told me, "I lost everything, Mum. The house, the money, the reputation, the friends who were only around for convenience. Everything." "Not everything. You still have yourself, and you have me, if you want me." "Of course I want you." "Then you did not lose everything." In May, while we were sitting in the garden of the residence, Robert told me something else. Chloe tried to commit suicide in jail. My heart stopped. What? She took pills. They found her in time. She is in the psychiatric hospital now. How are you with that? I don't know. I feel pity. I feel guilt. I feel everything and nothing at the same time. Did you go to see her? Yes. She didn't recognize me. Or she pretended not to recognize me. She is very ill, Mom. Very lost. Robert, this is important. None of what Chloe is living is your fault. She made decisions for years, decisions to lie, steal, manipulate, and when those decisions finally had consequences, her mind could not handle it. But that does not mean you caused her collapse. She destroyed herself. I know that rationally, but emotionally? Emotionally, you are going to carry this for a while, and that is okay. But don't let that guilt paralyze you, because if I have learned anything, it is this. Life presents you with the consequences of your actions, not to punish you, but to teach you. We remained in silence. After a while, Robert spoke again. Do you know what the most ironic thing is? That all of this could have been avoided. If I had listened to you from the beginning, if I had seen what Chloe really was, if I had valued what I had before losing it. But you didn't. And you can't live in the what-ifs. You can only live in the now. And in the now, you have the opportunity to be better, to learn, not to repeat mistakes. Do you think I can ever have a family again? Be happy? Yes, but first you have to heal. You have to work on yourself, on your patterns, on your wounds. You can't build something healthy on rotten foundations. How do I do that? Therapy, time, honesty with yourself, and forgiveness toward Chloe, toward me, toward yourself. Robert looked at me with eyes full of pain. How do you forgive someone who almost destroyed you? By understanding that that person is also destroyed, that hurt people hurt, that no one is completely evil, just deeply broken, and that forgiveness is not saying what you did is okay, it is saying what you did was wrong, but I am no longer going to carry the burden of hating you. Have you forgiven me completely? I thought about his question. Honestly, almost. Some days, yes, others it still hurts. But every day I get closer, and that, son, is the best I can give you. In June, exactly 1 year after I moved to Golden Villa, Robert arrived with something under his arm. I have something for you. It was a photo album, but not just any album. It was a new one, with photos I had not seen. Photos of Robert as a baby that I thought were lost. Photos of Richard Young. Photos of our little New Jersey house. Where did you get this? From the basement of the house. Before selling it, I checked every box. I found this among the things Chloe had thrown away. I rescued them because I realized that throwing away the past does not solve anything. It just leaves you empty. I opened the album with trembling hands. There was Richard, my husband, smiling at our wedding. There was Robert, at 3 years old, covered in mud after playing in the yard. There was I, young, with black hair and bright eyes. Tears ran down my cheeks. Thank you, son. Thank you. No, thank you. For not giving up on me. For continuing to love me, even when I did not deserve it. We hugged, and in that embrace I felt something I had not felt in more than a year. Hope. Not the silly hope that everything would go back to how it was before, but the real hope that we could build something new, something different, something more honest. That night, alone in my room, I looked at the photographs one by one and understood something profound. Justice does not always come as you expect. It is not always fast. It is not always obvious. But it comes. Chloe lost her freedom, her mental health, her reputation. Robert lost his house, his money, his marriage. I lost my home, my illusion, my role as a needy mother. But in those losses, we also gained something. Chloe, perhaps, will have the opportunity to face her demons in therapy. Robert learned that material success is worth nothing without integrity. And I learned that my worth does not depend on how much others need me. Life always collects its debts, not with revenge, with lessons. And the deepest lessons always hurt. But that pain, makes us wise. 2 years after that day, I left the house I once called home for the last time. I find myself sitting in the same garden at Golden Villa, under the same willow tree that has seen me cry, heal, and be reborn. So many things have happened, so many changes, so many lessons. Mrs. Lopez passed away 6 months ago, peacefully with a smile on her face. Her son never arrived, but I was with her. I held her hand. I told her she was not alone. And she was not, because family is not just blood. It is also those who choose to stay when there is no longer an obligation. Mr. Peterson is still here. Every afternoon we play chess. He always wins, but I am getting better. He taught me that patience, in chess as in life, is the difference between surviving and conquering. Robert comes to visit me every week now, on Tuesdays, without fail. Sometimes he brings coffee and donuts. We sit here, in this garden, and we talk. We no longer talk about the past as a wound. We talk about the past as history, as something that formed us but no longer defines us. He tells me about his business. It is growing again, slowly but firmly. He learned to be more selective with his clients, not to pursue only money, to look for projects that have soul. 3 months ago, he told me he is dating someone. A woman named Patricia, a kindergarten teacher, divorced, with 2 children, simple, with an easy laugh. She is not like Chloe, he told me. She doesn't care about my car or my clothes. She cares about me. And what do you feel for her? Peace. No fireworks, no drama, just peace. That is mature love, son, the one that remains when the novelty fades. Last week I met her. Patricia came with Robert. She brought her children, a boy of 7 and a girl of 5. The girl sat on my lap and showed me her doll. The boy asked me if I knew how to play checkers. I told them no, but that I would like to learn. Patricia looked at me with kind eyes. Robert told me everything that happened. I want you to know that I am very sorry for how they treated you. Thank you, but that is behind me now. Even so, a mother should never... Her voice broke. I am sorry. I lost my mum 2 years ago, and I would give anything to have her back. So it breaks my heart to know that there were people who had you and did not value you. Her words moved me, because they came from a genuine place, from someone who knows what it is like to lose. Can I ask you something? Patricia said after a moment. Of course. How did you do it? How did you forgive? The question floated in the air like a delicate butterfly. It was not a moment. It was a path, long, painful. Some days I walked forward, others I walked backward, but I kept walking. And one day I realized that forgiveness was not for them. It was for me, because carrying hatred is like drinking poison, hoping the other person will die. Patricia nodded. Her eyes shone with contained tears. Someone once called me crazy. Years later, I saw that same emptiness in her eyes while she was alone in that hospital. Life always collects its debts. Robert asked me what I meant. I told him that I had heard, from a neighbour at Golden Villa who had contacts, that Chloe was still interned in the psychiatric hospital, that her family had abandoned her, that she spent her days looking out the window, lost in her own thoughts. I don't feel triumph, I told Robert. I only feel sadness, because she was also a broken person, and no one helped her heal in time. Do you think I should go see her? Robert asked. I don't know. That is your decision. But if you go, let it be because you need it, not out of guilt. Robert did not go, and I understood, because some wounds need distance to close. This morning, while drinking my tea by the window, I received a call. It was from an unknown number. Mrs. Eleanor Stevens? Yes. This is Mr. Ramirez from the law firm Montes and Associates. My blood ran cold. That was the firm that had handled my exit from the house. What do you need? I am calling to inform you about a legal matter that concerns you. Could you come to our offices tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning? What is it about? I would prefer to explain it to you in person. It is delicate. I hung up with a bad feeling. I told Robert. He insisted on accompanying me. The next day we went to the firm together. It was an elegant building in Manhattan, marble floors, perfectly dressed receptionists. We were shown into an enormous office. Mr. Ramirez was a man about 60 years old, in a grey suit and reading glasses. Mrs. Stevens, thank you for coming. Mr. Robert, it is good that you accompany her. What is this? Robert asked defensively. Relax, it is nothing bad. In fact, it is something unexpected. He opened a folder on his desk. 3 years ago, your mother-in-law, Mrs. Martha Stevens, made a will. In it, she left a property in your name, Mrs. Stevens. I was speechless. Martha, Richard's mother, my mother-in-law. She had died 3 years ago. We were never close, but not enemies either. What property? A house in Palm Springs, California, with a large piece of land. Mrs. Stevens specified in her will that this property was for you, as a thank you for having taken such good care of her son Richard and her grandson Robert. But I didn't know anything about this. The will was opened when Mrs. Stevens died, but due to an administrative confusion, you were not notified in time. And then, with everything that happened with your living situation, the matter was archived. Until now, when I, reviewing pending cases, found this document. I looked at Robert. He was as surprised as I was. Does that mean my mother owns a house? Exactly. A 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, large yard, in a quiet subdivision in Palm Springs. It is in good condition. It has been rented these years. The rent has been accumulating in an account. Mrs. Stevens, in addition to the house, you have close to $400,000 in accumulated rent. I could not breathe. I could not think. A house, money, freedom. Is this real? I asked in a broken voice. Completely real. Here are all the documents. I just need you to sign some papers and the property will officially be in your name. I signed with trembling hands. The attorney handed me the deeds, the keys, the bank statements. We left the office in silence. Robert and I looked at each other in the parking lot. "Mum, you have a house?" "I have a house," I repeated, still not believing it. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know." "Do you want us to go see it?" That same afternoon, we drove to Palm Springs, an hour and a half in the car. Robert drove. I looked out the window, watching the city turn into mountains, trees, cleaner air. The house was on a quiet street, painted terracotta, wooden door, windows with artistic grates. I opened the door with the keys they gave me. We walked in. The house smelled a little of sawdust, but it was clean. The furniture was simple but functional. The kitchen had a gas stove and wooden cabinets. The bedrooms had good light. The backyard had a mango tree and space for planting. I walked through every room, touched the walls, looked out the windows, and for the first time in years, I felt something I had forgotten. I felt that I was home. Not because it was luxurious, not because it was big, but because it was mine, completely mine. Robert found me in the yard, sitting under the mango tree. "What do you think?" he asked. "I think your grandmother had a good heart, and that maybe everything that happened had to happen for me to get here. Are you going to move?" "I don't know. I like Golden Villa. I have friends there. Routine. Peace. But this is yours. You could live here." "With total freedom. Freedom is not in the walls, son. It is in the heart. But yes, I think I would like to spend periods here. Have my own space. Invite Mr. Peterson to play chess under this tree. Invite you and Patricia with the children on weekends." "Really, Phil? Of course. This house is big. There is space for everyone, but with boundaries, with respect, with love that does not suffocate." Robert sat next to me. "Mum, are you happy?" The question surprised me, because it had been so long since anyone had asked me that, not even myself. Yes, not in the way I imagined, not with the perfect family I dreamed of, but yes, I am happy with what I have, with who I am, with what I learned. What did you learn? That true love lets go, that forgiveness frees you, that losses can be gifts in disguise, that it is never too late to start over, that a person's worth is not in how much they give, but in who they are, and that sometimes life takes everything away to teach you that the only thing you really need is yourself. Robert hugged me, a long, tight, honest hug. "I love you, Mum, and I am so sorry for everything I put you through." "I know, and I love you too. But son, it is time to let go of the guilt. Both of us. I let go of the pain. You let go of the guilt. And we build something new, something better. Do you think we can?" "We already are." We stayed there, under the mango tree, until the sun began to set. And at that moment, with the sky painted in oranges and pinks, I understood something that took me 67 years to learn. Happiness is not in being loved the way you want. It is in loving yourself enough not to need external validation. It is in letting go of what hurts you, even if it hurts. It is in forgiving, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve peace. It is in understanding that people do the best they can with the tools they have. And it is in accepting that life always finds a way to balance the scores. Not with revenge, with justice, with time, with lessons that hurt, but that heal. 2 years have passed since that afternoon under the mango tree. Now I divide my time between Golden Villa and my house in Palm Springs. At Golden Villa, I have my community, my friends, my routine that gives me structure. In Palm Springs, I have my freedom, my garden, my space to think and create. I started writing stories of women who lost and found, who fell and got up, who were discarded and flourished anyway. Some of my companions at the residence ask me to read my stories to them. They cry. They recognize themselves. They say, "That is me." And I tell them, "Yes, that is you. And look how strong you are, still here, still standing, still with stories to tell." Robert and Patricia got married 6 months ago, a small wedding in a garden. I was there. Patricia asked me to read a poem during the ceremony. I read one that I wrote myself. Love is not possession. It is freedom with roots. It is giving without expecting. It is holding without suffocating. It is falling and helping to get up. It is forgiving without forgetting. It is building bridges, not walls. It is the garden that is watered with constancy, not with storms of intensity. True love hurts, but it heals. True love costs, but it frees. And true love remains, not out of obligation, but out of choice. Everyone cried, even me. Patricia's children, now my adopted grandchildren, call me Grandma Eleanor. They come to visit me in Palm Springs once a month. I teach them how to plant, how to cook, how to knit. I tell them stories, but not of princesses waiting for rescue. I tell them about queens who saved themselves. The other day, little Emma, now 7 years old, asked me, "Grandma, were you ever very sad?" "Yes, my love, very sad. And how did you become happy again?" I learned that happiness does not depend on other people. It depends on me, on my decisions, on my inner peace. And how do you find inner peace? By forgiving, letting go, loving yourself, and understanding that everything that happens to you, the good and the bad, is teaching you something. Emma looked thoughtful. I want to be like you when I grow up. Like me? Strong, and who smiles even though she sometimes has sad eyes. Her childlike observation pierced my heart. Sad eyes are not bad, my girl. They are eyes that have seen a lot, that have cried a lot, but that decided to keep looking forward. Those are the wisest eyes. I have heard little of Chloe in these years. Robert told me that she finally left the psychiatric hospital, that her family picked her up, that she moved to another city, that she is undergoing treatment. I don't know if she learned anything. I don't know if she changed. I don't know if she will ever understand the damage she caused. But that is no longer my problem. I did my part. I forgave. I let go. I moved on. The rest is her path, her lesson, her life. Sometimes, on quiet nights in Palm Springs, I sit in the yard with a cup of coffee, the same kind they forbade me to make in that house that no longer exists for me. And I look at the stars, and I think about the entire journey. I think about the Eleanor of 3 years ago, broken, humiliated, feeling that her life was over. And I look at the Eleanor of now, whole, dignified, knowing that her life is just truly beginning. Because it is never too late to be reborn. It is never too late to find yourself. It is never too late to choose peace over bitterness. And it is never ever too late to understand that your worth does not depend on how much others love you, but on how much you love yourself. If my story helps a single woman open her eyes, it will have been worth it. If a single person who is being discarded, forgotten, mistreated by their own family reads this, and understands that they are not alone, that there is a way out, that there is life after rejection, then everything I lived, everything I suffered, everything I lost will have had meaning. Because pain that is not transformed into wisdom is wasted pain, and I decided not to waste a single tear. Every one of them watered the garden where I now flourish. My name is Eleanor Stevens. I am 67 years old, and this is my story. A story of loss, betrayal, pain, but also of rebirth, forgiveness, silent strength. A story that, I hope, helps you understand something fundamental. That when life takes everything from you, when you think there is nothing left, when the whole world turns its back on you, you still have yourself. And you, my dear friend who hears this, you are enough. You always have been. You just had to lose everything to discover it. May God bless you. May you find your peace. May you learn to let go of what hurts you. And may you never, ever forget your worth. Because you are invaluable, even if no one else sees it. Especially if no one else sees it. Until the next story. Until the next life lesson.